So hi and welcome to the Data Explorer's Securities Lending Market Update. So today I'm talking about the recent gathering of the great and the good of the Asian securities financing community at the PASLA industry event in Singapore this week. And there was basically a couple of interesting days of discussion, and there was some voting results that we can bring you to kind of reveal what people are really thinking down there right now. And it's kind of pretty interesting. And to start with, and let's get the positive out there, there's a very sort of bullish forecast for the growth of balances on loan and income from securities financing in Asia, with 40% expecting that revenues will increase by more than 10%. So that's very healthy. Fortunately, that most key metric sees all the sort of positives, because many of the other questions that were asked did reveal a set of people relatively feeling rather downtrodden by the amount of regulatory change that's going on and the uncertainty that's still out there. So first of all, let's have a look at how the Indian market has developed. Well, most people are sort of not readying themselves to enter the Indian market because they think that it is rather too complicated. They don't quite understand what to do. So there is general dissatisfaction with the way that India is opening up its market, and there's a general verdict that markets in Asia should try and do more to welcome the international brokerage community, make it easier for them to do business, because that's what's kind of holding them back at the moment. If I zip back to another sort of positive, what is the Asian market that's predicted to grow the most this year? Well, interestingly, Taiwan was predicted to grow the most, with Hong Kong second. Hong Kong pretty significant because it's already a very big stock loan market, so for it to be the one predicted to grow the second most is sort of another big movement, but Taiwan's number one. Japan, a mere 10% of people think Japan's going to be the number one market, and Singapore, well, the verdict was pretty sort of tepid on the growth of Singapore, with only sort of 4% of people thinking that Singapore is going to be the number one growth market, despite the fact this conference wasn't in Singapore and there would be quite a lot of Singapore people in the room. Central counterparties, as a method of matching lenders and borrowers, came in for their usual no thanks unless mandated to by regulators feedback. And the focus of concern was the fact that the central counterparts hold title to counterparts' collateral, as is the case in India. That is not something that people in this audience of prime brokers and custodians mainly were particularly fond of. Clearly, risk is still the dominant theme. Everybody, was unanimous in saying that this is something they're working on more than they were before as a result of the credit crunch, which kind of goes against some of the things that we were hearing from the IMN conference in the States, where we did hear that some beneficial owners were starting to talk about, how do I make more money from this business? So that's definitely not happening in Asia. It's about risk, risk, risk. Interestingly, people are, half of respondents felt they didn't have a way of understanding on a daily basis how much balance sheet was being used up by their securities financing activity. And this could mean that, there'll be more business going towards the synthetic instruments, the swap method of borrowing stock. And that's an unintended consequence of penalising capital usage of stock loan, is going to encourage more synthetic and complicated financial instruments. In fact, most people think, or 78% of people thought, that the amount of business being done via a synthetic stock loan was going to increase this year. There's a little bit of usual things. We know it's mainly an equity market, and custodians seem to be worried about quite a few things, and the prime brokers think there could be more supply available in this market. So to recap, Taiwan is predicted to have the growth, and there's plenty of worries about risk and lots of work to do. If you'd like to read my report, it is at dataexplorers.com/news.